So picking up from where we last left off, I'm gonna take the shading and switch X-ray. So I want to be able to see the figure that I'm working on. See, now I can work with my figure in its full mode without having to worry about being able to select my bones or working with the hypergraph. So as you can see here, again, those options that I applied to the figure here work out pretty well. Now, wherever there is a joint, if you take a close look at the skin, it's going to modify the skin in different ways. So as you can see here in the back, as I rotate the arm forward, you see how much of that is being distorted. Now that's a bit more than we actually need for this figure. And you'll see right there the bicep, as it comes inward, you see how it's kind of flattening out a little bit. Well, there are ways you can modify the skin so that you can get rid of little bits of distortion on the figure like that. Now this is a time-consuming process, so I'm not going to do the whole figure. I'm just going to give you an idea. And generally what you do is, you modify, you give your figure a test run and see how well it works. Select the joint and then move it around and see what shifts and what doesn't. Because like for the neck, you see, for the neck it doesn't require that much distortion. At least the figure shouldn't distort that much. So there's a tool in there that is used just for this. We first have to select the skin, and then under skin, the option itself, we go to paint skin weights and its options. Now you notice that the model is now black, and we have these little bits of white area here. Now what this means is the white area is the area that is the influence of the joint around the geometry. So the more white area there is, the more influence it has over that joint. So we click here, well actually we take a look at the tool settings here. We have a whole breakdown of all of the joint chains. Starting with the imp base, see we have the hip. See, and whatever we select, it'll go directly to that joint and how that joint influences the geometry of the model. See, in our case here we're looking for the shoulder. That's the left chest. We're looking for the right chest. Here we go. And the right shoulder. Okay, so currently the right shoulder here, that's why it's important to label your bones, label everything, because you'll get lists like this or tools like this that require you to know what you're working with. And if you had just joint 1, joint 2, joint 1, I mean that would be really, really confusing. So get in the habit of labeling your stuff. Okay, so now we want to work with the manipulators here, or how much the joint works with the object or the surrounding geometry, which is where these come into handy, or come into place. See the paint operation, we have replace, add, smooth, and scale. We also have the profile, or how you apply. These are like your paint heads, paintbrush heads. And then of course we have the opacity and value. This controls the strength of the brush, I should say. So as you can see here, we also have a little, this little red ring represents kind of like your brush size. Okay, so right now I have it set for add. You'll see what happens when I click add. See, it gradually adds more influence over the area that you paint. So if I click over this area that is light, you'll see the influence gradually changing and distorting how the geometry lies on that area. If I click replace, what replace does, let me bring up the opacity to the max so that way you'll see what happens. So start with replace. When you click replace, you see it removes the influence of that joint on the geometry. If we click add, it'll add to the influence of that joint on the surrounding geometry. And click smooth. It'll smooth out the influence, kind of like give it a nice in-between kind of deal there. So for me, I'm going to want to modify the influence of the bicep around the chest, because I want to get rid of this collapsing area around the bicep. I'm going to lower my opacity because I want to have control over how much my geometry warps. I don't want to overdo it in one shot. This is a portion where you'll definitely want to, take your time. Again, rigging is time consuming, but if you really if you're really into this stuff, then you'll go through this whole process. See, that's good enough like that. You see, that gap is gone, that unnatural gap is gone. And all I did was add to the influence in this area. Now this is what I don't want. I want to get rid of this distortion here. So smooth, I believe, should help to work out that area. Sometimes it's just a give and take, Sometimes you'll use replace, sometimes you'll use smooth, sometimes you'll use add. Just get used to jumping back and forth. Now this, again, like I said, I don't need this unnatural distortion here, so I'm using smooth to get rid of those areas. And this one, you'll want to be able to use your camera angles to work with the different angles there, so you can see how much of the geometry is being distorted in certain areas. So work with that. There we go. You notice it's not bulging out as much as it did originally. And because this guy is, like a sci-fi character, it's a monster, you could get away with like saying, his body type is different, so he has the option of, or he has the ability to warp and look weird as he's jumping around and make him look funny. But you'll know when something is really, really off. That looks pretty good. So if I select the elbow and then manipulate it, rotate and all that good stuff. So when you bind the skin to the object, when you bind the skin to your figure, it's always good to go through the arm positions, how exactly this character is going to move about. See, like this, with this arm pointing straight up, usually it's in the joints. The limbs do pretty well, but primarily, like as far as my experience goes, the part where I wind up with a lot of the issues is like where the joints connect to another portion, like mainly the joints to the body, the leg to the hip, shoulder to the chest. See, like right there, lift the arm straight up, we have two areas here. This part, it caves inward, and this part right here, we have a point sticking straight out. So we select that and then go back to our paint manipulator. So we got lots of problems with the shoulder there. There we go. Go back to the shoulder and then on there and lighten that area up or darken it up. Let me see. I might need to add in this case. Nope, caves it in. I don't need add. Let me try replace. It kind of messes it up too. I think I need smooth. Yeah, I guess that's good enough. Smooth out the effect of that area. Try and get that unnatural distortion out. For the shoulder though, I might need to add to it. Just get the muscle to come around the bone a little more naturally there. The influencer around the chest might be the one I need to work on. Yeah, there we go. So you see, you have to jump back and forth between your joints. See, not one particular joint is a fix-all, as you saw there. See, turns out the influence that I needed to modify was right here in the chest in order to get them to work right. So see, then go to smooth that area out. There we go. We'll go back to the shoulder. See this portion right here underneath the armpit that's jutting out, and just smooth it out right there. So again, this is a time-consuming process, but if you want something to look right when you're animating it, you'll do exactly this. The video is kind of running a little long here, but I got one more thing to say, and that's the final thing. When you're working with this tool, some cases you'll need to increase or decrease the size of the brush. You hold down B on your keyboard, just B, and then you drag right to increase the brush size and drag left to decrease the brush size. Okay, I'm going to switch back to my regular view here. I'm going to select the shoulder, rotate it back, up, down, back. See like that? I need to fix that right there. The shoulder is still doing its weird thing right there. But yeah, as you can see there, this thing has been rigged. Yeah, I'll have to take care of that, but generally, you know, this is pretty much it right there. One more thing to do before I finish this up is to group all of my items together. You'll see what I mean here in the next video.